Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's exercise is a mixed media approach to painting and drawing a cherry. I've already drawn it lightly in and applied some masking fluid which I've let dry thoroughly. I'm now applying washes on the cherry. Don't be too bothered here about creating a perfect wash, because the little bits of inconsistency mean that it gives it a texture that cherries, when you look at them carefully, do have. I'm also applying a wash to the stalk. You'll be surprised when you look at it carefully that there are quite separate colour differences between the stalk. I've let this dry thoroughly and now I'm first burnishing some of the areas that I've painted with a soft white pencil, and I've also removed the masking fluid at this stage with a putty rubber, and I'm working into the highlights around where the masking fluid is reserved the white of the paper. I'm burnishing it so it makes the darker colours more difficult to overpower it, if you like. It keeps it separated from the darker colours. I'm going in with a dark red here and just establishing some of the pits that you see on the skin of the fruit. I've worked this up a bit and I've also applied some texture into it. You can see some almost like stripes that wrap around the cherry. I go over them once with the dark red and then go in with a more orangey red. Now when I go in with the more orangey red, I'm creating additional texture by shading with small ellipses, like a small elliptical movement of the hand or the fingers, just to give it that extra texture but also to get into all the grain. I keep my pencil very sharp for when I'm doing projects like this, and I keep on rotating it, if you notice, because that gives me a bit of extra time before I have to sharpen again. These pencils can be quite expensive, and just to make sure that you get the best value for money out of them, if you keep on rotating them, you'll always have a sharp edge. But I would recommend that you get a pencil sharp that gives you a long point, because this makes it even better. Going in with like a dark cherry red, and I'm just strengthening some of the dark spots, and I'm giving it contrast right up against the highlights. This makes the highlights pop out a bit more. I've missed some of the stages out because this took me about 8 hours to do completely, and it's also running about 3 times the speed. I'm going over here with a more orangey pencil to fill in the gaps, if you like, but also to give it some unity, because I'm applying this pencil virtually all over the cherry. It does help to give it that unity, as does the underpainting. I'm leaving some gaps so you've got some variance in the colour. Going over again with the darker cherry coloured pencil. Again, I'm rotating it to make sure that the point's sharp, and I'll keep on doing this for until the end of the drawing's finished. It is a lengthy process, and to be honest, it's not for everybody. I find it quite relaxing once I get to this stage, but it can be a bit tedious at the early stages when you're laying down the first layers of pigment. I'm putting some detail in now with a sepia pencil. I do this with one pencil first, then I'll add different colours to it, because you need quite a broad spectrum of colours to give it that sense of reality. If you just use 1 or 2 colours, it just looks flat and doesn't look real. This will be a mixture of adding the pencil in quite forceful lines and then blending them, and here I'm burnishing with a cream coloured pencil just to give a bit of unity to the stalk. I then go over it with a bit of a punchy lime green just to give it that extra life and make it stand out. keep on pausing because I want to make sure that the tonal values are correct. Try and keep the particles of coloured pencil off the page. I use a soft brush just to dust them off, so sometimes if you blow the dust particles away, you can actually leave some moisture on top of the drawing. I'm going in and burnishing for the final highlights now. We're pretty much finished, to be honest. It's just a case of stepping back, seeing what's there and knowing when to stop. Also, if you could give me a like for this, it really does help the channel grow. Goodbye.